This is vitamin D, and it's one of the most misunderstood supplements. And that's partially because of its endocrine behavior, and structurally, when you look at it, its active form looks more like a steroid hormone. Nice. Also, the fact that you can synthesize it yourself just by going outside. Except it's been raining all day, and this is a stupid example. For some people, though, it's not that simple. You'd think since I live in Arizona, my serum levels would be consistently off the charts. Nope, always on the low end. Genetic variations to key enzymes, age, skin color, body fat, liver and kidney function all play a role in how much vitamin D you can produce. It's also just weird. The fact that you can fortify certain foods yourself by buying a UVB reptile light on Amazon and cutting up some mushrooms is insane. Now, obviously, I don't recommend it. It's a pain in the ass. It takes forever, and we're increasing levels of vitamin D too, but still, it's fascinating. There's also so many misconceptions on how to properly dose this, so let's dive into your mom's favorite vitamin, vitamin D. That was rude. Maybe she does just have a lot of guy friends. I don't know. Vitamin D is one of the 4 fat-soluble vitamins, A, D, E, K. They're stored in the liver and the body fat and can accumulate, hence why people freak out about someone taking too much. Water-soluble vitamins you can just piss out, except B12. That's a weird one. Your skin, specifically the keratinocytes in your epidermis, contain 70-hydrocholesterol. UVB light converts that into pre-vitamin D3, which then thermally isomerizes, which just means it converts from one isomer to the other without the need of an enzyme, and ends up turning into cholecalciferol, which everybody should recognize as vitamin D3. To me, that is insane. And one of the many neat things about your body is it has a built-in governor. In this case, a sunburn, for instance, is a good indication of keratinocyte injury or death. So you're not going to overdose on vitamin D from going outside. All right, cool. All we got to do is go outside and play in traffic for a little bit, increase our levels of vitamin D3, and we're good, right? No, that's still an inactive form. There's quite a few steps left. The cholecalciferol, vitamin D3, enters the bloodstream and eventually winds up in the liver where it's converted to 25-hydroxy-vitamin D, also known as calcifediol. You might have heard of this before because it's what every lab uses to measure vitamin D levels because there's a large storage pool and it's got a longer half-life, but this is still a hormonally inactive form. That's why you'll see a lot of studies where they use vitamin D as an intervention, and in spite of raising 25-hydroxy-vitamin D levels, it still didn't improve clinical outcomes, but no shit, because this is still an inactive form. It doesn't really tell us much. That little bastard still has to make its way to the kidneys, where there it's converted to 1,25-dihydroxy-vitamin D, calcitriol. And now we have the active form. And that was just a breakdown of the process of how you synthesize vitamin D from UVB light. It's a fairly similar process, though, when you ingest food that's fortified with it or take it in a supplement form. It just first has to go into your pie hole, bust out of the wall of the small intestine like the Kool-Aid Man, and eventually merge into the bloodstream. You'll find the vitamin D3 form in fattier fish, beef liver, egg yolks, and the supplemental form actually comes from sheep's wool. So that's gross. And vitamin D2 is made typically this exact way. UVB light on some mushrooms, you got ergocalciferol. Obviously, it doesn't usually look like this. I just screwed up and forgot about this for 2 days. Now, that all could have been slightly dumb Jeopardy facts that you already knew, but why should you care? It's because vitamin D deficiency is fairly prevalent, and having an adequate amount has a litany of health benefits. And if you took the recommended dose of 800 IUs on a daily basis for 10 years, jack shit would happen. So we need to update this. The first thing we should look for is to see if there's a study that compares the dose relationship to the amount of vitamin D ingested and compares that to the rise in serum vitamin D level. And yes, that's still its inactive form, and you could have a mutated fish baby of an enzyme that doesn't convert it all the way, but there's testing you can get for that. Based on the research, this is probably as good as it gets. This is the best I found. It was a study that looked at 67 men that lived in Omaha. Yeah. I know. They gave them different doses of vitamin D3 orally and found that after a few months, every 1,000 IUs given increased serum levels by 7 nanograms per milliliter. So, thank you, Omaha. Now, really, all you have to know is the optimal range for you to shoot for, but it turns out that's a disgusting rabbit hole to go down as well, and there's confusion across the board. But personally, I like the ODX 50 to 90 nanograms per milliliter. That one is the least corrupt and screwed up. This brings up an important point. If you're supplementing it just because you think you need it and you've never done a blood test to check your actual levels, you're kind of an asshole. I'm just gonna speak out of my ass because I don't know if I can do this, but being the chief scientific asshole at Ways to Well, I'm sure I can get a discount code. If I can, I'll put it in the description. If I can't, oops, I tried. Regardless, the smart thing to do is to check your levels and then dose accordingly. And I personally think this is the effective way to dose to hit a target level, and it's the safest, but there is another way. That sounded real Lord of the Rings prologue, but you'll see. The following information is more educational and entertainment. Do not try this at home. I basically get paid to test dumb shit on myself and see if it works. If not, I piss blood. Don't try this. Point being, I'm not recommending this. I'm just personally trying it. There's a small sub-niche of vitamin D studies that I would categorize as megadosing, where they compare one large bolus dose to daily dosing, and the incredibly large dose might be more effective. Here's a study where they took 37 postmenopausal dried up old prunes and gave them a dose of either 300,000 IUs one time or a daily dose of 800 IUs. After 4 weeks, the megadose, the clear winner. It showed a statistically significant improvement. But what's even more interesting than that is after 12 weeks, it still maintained the benefit over the daily dose group, which kind of caught up, but not really. Which means that taking the daily recommended dose will take forever. One important thing to note is that calcium levels between the groups was virtually unchanged. And this is significant because high doses of vitamin D could chronically raise calcium levels, which could cause vascular calcification, or you can wind up pissing out a kidney stone and injuring your dick. Good news is, didn't happen. The case for megadosing gets even stronger when you look at this study where they gave 600,000 IUs of vitamin D2 or D3 orally or intramuscularly. The long and short of it, if you want an acute spike, take vitamin D3 orally. If you want a more sustained long-term improvement, take vitamin D3 intramuscularly. It is the opposite of what I thought it would be. It also makes you realize that the type of vitamin D that you supplement with matters. Ergo calciferol, vitamin D2, had less of a conversion, so don't take that. And if you think that was a crazy dose, they may or may have not accidentally given 2 million IUs to 2 nursing home residents and then just monitored them for a while to see if they fucking blew up. No adverse events. Hopefully that sheds light on the need to change the recommended dosage of vitamin D on a daily basis. And if not, maybe you just make better decisions. I don't care. Adequate levels have been shown to be everything from cancer preventative to, in my stupid case, just fix my goddamn psoriasis. Also, it's Black Friday, so I'm taking every program I've ever created inside the app, bundling them together, and selling it for a stupid, cheap price. Because, I don't know. Seems like the right thing to do. And because that's cool, but whatever, I'm also adding a week-long program that I'm calling Hell Week. Because to me, the most important variable in terms of whether or not you're gonna grow is intensity. And every once in a while, we lose our way and we start half-assing workouts, and we need to be reintroduced to the devil's dick. I just dreamt up the most disgustingly hard workouts for each body part, so good luck surviving that. It should come with a little handicap sticker.